Per ESPN's Pete Thamel, ACC athletic directors met on August 26th. So that is today at the time of this recording, Wednesday, August 26th. And there is momentum for the ACC to join the Big Ten and SEC in banning NFL players. I thought, ladies and gentlemen, that was simply understood by everyone. But yes, this is what college sports has come to, ladies and gentlemen. Thamel also reports the ACC is trying to pass this rule within the next day, so 24 hours-ish. It's entirely possible by the time you are watching or listening to this show right now, the rule is put in place for the ACC. It's important to note that this rule will also apply to NBA and WNBA players as well. Unclear how it's going to impact other sports, and that does matter for Syracuse because they have a lot of lacrosse players that are seeking a fifth year of eligibility, but they may have already been drafted by a pro team. They may have already played professionally for lacrosse. So it's unclear whether or not what this rule is going to mean for them. For the purposes of this podcast, we will discuss what it means for football and basketball. Now for some context. Why is this all going on right now? Why is the ACC having to pass a rule banning NFL, NBA, and WNBA players, following suit with the Big Ten and the SEC? What on earth could possibly be happening? Well, if you've been following along the national news across all of college sports, then you may have heard about what LSU has been doing. Now, I respect LSU in this regard that they do not care. All they want to do is win. They don't care about morals. They don't care about what's right. They just want to win. That's it. If a guy can play, they'll take him. And as Lane Kiffin said, if we are not taking this guy, Daquan Wright, then someone else would have taken Daquan Wright. So why not us? I understand what LSU is trying to do, but nevertheless, LSU in the past couple of days has added not one, but two former NFL players to their roster. It's Daquan Wright, who I just mentioned, and Xavier Harris. Now, let's talk about these players a little bit specifically, because they're not NFL players that have already played a bunch professionally, and now all of a sudden they're deciding, hey, I want to return to school. These were two players that were in the class of 2022 that ran out of college eligibility, and they were forced to turn professional because they did not have any more college eligibility. They had no choice, okay? But after not making it in the NFL, they are not going to be on an NFL roster when the NFL season kicks off. They have been waived. They want to return to school for a fifth year. And this goes in line with 5 for 5 and how there are so many players in the class of 2022 right now that are fighting for a fifth year of college eligibility. So what does this mean for Syracuse? Obviously, they have a ton of players that are trying to get that fifth year of eligibility from this 5 for 5 rule that the NCAA put in place and decided to exclude class of 2022 players. Again, for football and basketball, it's two guys that impact Syracuse. You have Justus, Ross-Simmons in football, the wide receiver, and Amarri Monroe, the forward in men's basketball. Plenty of lacrosse players as well, but again, this rule, it may not apply to lacrosse players. We have to stay up to date with that. For now, this is really just NFL, NBA, and WNBA. Now, with Justus Ross-Simmons and Amarri Monroe specifically, the rule that the ACC wants to put in place, just like the Big Ten and SEC did, I do not believe it's going to impact them. And here's why. There are 3 provisions to the rule, none of which I believe apply to Amarri Monroe or Justus Ross-Simmons. Number 1, it bans previously declared underclassmen players for the NFL, NBA, or WNBA and did not appropriately withdraw. So what does that mean? Take Syracuse, for example, in 2024, Kyle McCord. When Kyle McCord declared for the NBA draft, not the NBA draft, the NFL draft, I should say, the irony of it was Kyle McCord was already in the NFL draft because he was a senior who was out of college eligibility. When he declared, that was him wanting to put out a statement, have his moment. Same with Jackson Meeks and Fadil Diggs, but they were already in the NFL draft. LaQuinn Allen, on the other hand, was an underclassman. He had college eligibility left and declared for the NFL draft. That's the difference. So with Justus Ross-Simmons and Amarri Monroe, they were seniors. They were out of college eligibility. They were not underclassmen. Therefore, them being in the NFL draft and NBA draft, yeah, technically their names were listed in there. They could have technically been picked, but it does not apply to them. Secondly, it bans players that signed a contract with an NFL or other professional football league, NBA, G League, or WNBA or affiliate team. To my knowledge, Justus Ross-Simmons and Amarri Monroe have not signed professional contracts. And number 3, it bans players being listed on an NFL or other professional football league, NBA, G League, or WNBA or affiliate. Again, to my knowledge, I do not believe Justus Ross-Simmons or Amarri Monroe have been listed on any professional rosters. So if and when the ACC puts out this rule and they ban professional athletes from returning back to college, I do not believe it's going to impact Syracuse with Justus Ross-Simmons and Amarri Monroe. If the court rules in their favor for them to get a 5th year ultimately, they will get a 5th year. I do not think that they are impacted by this rule one bit. Now, here are my thoughts on everything that is going on right now. I have been very consistent on this show that NFL, NBA, professional athletes, they should not be allowed to return to school. That's just not how it works. And so to be clear, I do support what the ACC is doing, and I support the SEC, and I support the Big Ten for putting these rules in place, banning NFL, NBA, WNBA players, G League players, all of that. I support it. I'm with them on this. But I just want people to remember that as chaotic and crazy as this whole ordeal has been, it has all been manufactured by the NCAA. This is the NCAA's fault, 100%. It's not the players' fault. It's not the team's fault. It's not the court's fault. It is the NCAA's fault, and it is their fault only for what is going on right now across college athletics with the class of 2022 specifically, and them trying to get that 5th year of eligibility. The NCAA, they were the ones that passed the 5-for-5 rule, which is a good rule. Most people are on board with it. They passed the 5-for-5 rule in late June, and they decided to exclude the class of 2022. All the NCAA had to do was choose a path of least resistance, and there were many different options they could have gone with. They could have passed the rule way earlier, let's say in January of 26, and just included class of 2022 players. That way, Daquan Wright, Xavier Harris, and others, they have no opportunity to turn. They can turn pro if they want, but they can also return to school in a legal manner. They could have done that, include class of 2022 players. They could have waited longer to pass 5-for-5. Say, wait till around Thanksgiving of 2026 and say, that's too bad. It's too late for class of 2022 players. They could have waited a little bit longer. Or what they also could have done is, okay, if they're really going to pass it in late June, give a blanket waiver to class of 2022 guys and say, look, if you are in the class of 2022, you are allowed to come back. Period. End of story. Instead, what the NCAA decided to do was choose the path of most resistance because they have an agenda. Okay? They want Congress to act. They want them to pass that Protect College Sports Act. They manufactured this chaos. They're the ones trying to gain sympathy with these players trying to return to school. But just remember, they manufactured it because they have an agenda and they want Congress to act. They knew that this was going to happen. Don't be naive about it. And I do not have sympathy for the NCAA in this regard, not one bit. It just stinks as a fan of Syracuse and college sports that now all of a sudden we all have to become lawyers to try to figure out who is allowed to play and who can't play And now if you go to the NFL, it just doesn't matter, and you return to school, it doesn't matter, and we now have to put in rules that you can't do that, and who knows? These guys are probably going to sue, and there's going to get a court order, an injunction, and next thing you know, they're actually going to be able to play. Who the heck knows what's going on right now? Genuinely. But the main thing that you should take away from all of this is that A, it's really not going to impact Syracuse as far as football and basketball with Justus, Ross-Simmons, and Amarri Monroe, because they never really were professionals. They didn't sign pro contracts. They were not underclassmen. They were automatically entered into the draft. And they were never listed on a pro roster, to my knowledge. And the second thing I want you to take away from this is it was all manufactured by the NCAA. They did this on purpose. They knew that this was going to happen. And so now they're sitting back, eating popcorn, fighting this whole ordeal, and they just want Congress to act on college sports, which might be in the best interest of everyone for Congress to do so. But just remember, this is the NCAA's fault.